Is up, everybody? Welcome to Closing Out the Week. I'm your host, as always, Marco Alvarado, and it's a pleasure to be your host today. We have a lot to talk about. A lot. So let me just jump into it. But really quickly before I do, please follow the podcast on Instagram at The Closers Podcast if you don't already. Like our Facebook page at Closers Podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the bell so you get notified when we post new content on there. Helps out the shows a lot. This show, along with the Closers Podcast and Hang 10 with Kalani. Okay, so with that out of the way, I tried to find some stories that were important, but I also try to, I don't know. There's nothing that's like necessary to know right now that isn't kind of depressing at its core. And I'm sorry for that. I really wish I could change it, but it's important to stay updated. I want to do my part to kind of keep everybody updated. So with that said, the first story is that Trump is sending more federal agents to more U.S. cities. Yeah. Even more infringement on our rights. Hooray, everybody. Hooray. We love to see it. President Trump announced Wednesday that his administration is expanding a crackdown on violent crime by sending hundreds of federal agents to the Democratic-run cities of Chicago and Albuquerque. Attorney General William Barr said that Operation Legend, which this is called, this kind of fascistic implementation of federal agents in U.S. cities. It's called Operation Legend. Fitting. Yeah. Apparently it was launched in Kansas City, Missouri, but it's different from the use of federal agents that was seen out in Portland, Oregon last week, or currently right now as I'm recording this, probably it's happening. What this Operation Legend is supposed to be is that federal authorities are getting sent to these cities to help the police there investigate crimes, try criminals, and basically help with the processes in those cities because they can't do it themselves. That's what Trump is thinking. They can't handle it, so we got to send our guys to help them do it. What do I think about this? Well, there's a lot, and I honestly could spend the entire episode talking about this, but we don't have that kind of time. So I'm just going to keep it very brief and say, in this country, we have a First Amendment right. We have a political party on the right that loves to tout the Constitution. There's a lot of people who vote Republican who swear up and down by the Constitution. It's like their Bible, okay? But they have been remarkably silent on the fact that now federal troops have gone into a state and have overstepped the governor's wishes of the state of Oregon and the mayor's wishes, and are arresting citizens for no reason other than just protesting. Now, there's dozens of videos online you can watch of people just literally standing there, and then a van pulls up, and they grab the person, throw them in the van. Now, that's terrifying in itself, because what if there's people who have the military grade kind of equipment? They can look the part. They have a van. And what if people start using this moment as a way to fuel, human trafficking or kidnapping, other people? There's so many things wrong with this. Mind you, all of these federal officers are not marked. They don't have any badges. There's no way to identify who these people are, which is a problem. But what happens when they are in the van, reportedly, is that the person is asked questions about what they were doing, where they live, And then the federal agents take pictures of them, take pictures of their IDs, and they're dropped off in a random place. So they're not even arrested. Federal agents are just taking people's information at force and are driving away. Now, that's pretty scary. That is very scary because what do they want that information for? What, like, we already have NSA, right? The NSA can find a lot of information on people and they don't even have to like step foot in a state. They can do it all online. Why do you have to take people off the street? What's the goal here? And that's what scares me the most. Obviously, this is an infringement on the Constitution and an infringement of our rights. And it's being cheered on by one side from what I see online. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm in my own little echo chamber. Maybe. But from what I've seen, it's the fact that it's getting cheered and applauded by people, by a certain group of people, is very, very, very concerning. Very concerning. Because it does, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what these people who are getting arrested stand for. We have rules in this country. We have laws in this country. And that are supposed to protect people from that exact act. And now we have a president that enables and cheers on and is demanding for the Department of Homeland Security to break the Constitution, to overstep the Constitution, to infringe on the Constitution. At that point, that sets a very dangerous precedent. And I'm very scared about what's going to happen next. Very scared. Okay, so with I mean, shit, man. I wish I could find, some very pertinent stories that weren't as depressing, but you know what? Here we are. Okay, here's one. Here's another story that isn't as bad. This is a little bit good, I guess. I don't know. So, the Washington Football Club has rebranded itself finally. What name did they pick, people? Guess. I'll give you like a second to guess. Wrong. Whatever you said, that was wrong. They are now the Washington Football Team. That's literally their name now. Temporarily, of course. But for the next season, at least, they're going to be called the Washington Football Team. Not even the Washington Football Club. I think the Washington Football Club sounds a lot better, a lot more clean, a lot more professional. Washington Football Team? Really? Team? I think that's pretty dumb. But I mean, I get it. They want to rebrand everything correctly and appropriately, and they want to take their time. That's fine. I have nothing against the name, Washington Football Team. It's default. It's very plain, and that's fine. I don't really care. I'm not a fan of this team, so it's not like I care. But they are going to rename the team to something. They are going to give this team a mascot at some point. But to what that's going to be, it looks like we're not going to be finding that out maybe for another year. Which kind of sucks because people were excited to see what team name they were going to go with. But there's a lot of legalities and a lot of business stuff that goes along with rebranding a professional team in the United States. You can't just do it. You can't just do it like how you could rename a podcast, okay? Like, I could rename this show something else tomorrow, do all the branding. It'll take me like 2 days to get it through. It's very different when you have a ton of branding that you have to replace and, uniforms you have to change out and a lot of stuff. I am curious, though, to see what logo they go with. Is it just going to be a W for Washington Football Team? Because honestly, if it's just the W and they stick with that, they decide to just stick with it, and the fans just think, the fans kind of like this just zero mascot kind of shtick, it might work, dude. They might just stick with this. I don't know. That'd be kind of cool to like a faceless NFL team, a team that's just like, no, we don't have a mascot. Now, they would lose out on some money branding-wise. You have to have at least some sort of iconography to, like, put on shirts, hats, hoodies and whatnot. But just like kind of branding yourself as the no-nonsense football team, the football team that's just like, we're here to fucking play football. We're not here to dance around and pretend that we're like pirates or whatever. I'm taking a shot at my own team, but or we're some sort of patriots or something. There we go. Better. Better. It's kind of cool. It's unique in that way. Which there are football teams that are kind of like that. The Browns are very plain. The Giants too, I would say, are very plain. They don't have a whole lot of iconography. It's just the NY. So, and just the word Giants. There's other teams that do it, kind of. But if the Washington football team sticks with it and is, follows that trend of just classic football team, a classical football team, that'd be kind of cool. So we'll see what happens. But officially off the website, they are now branded as Washington Football Team. And within the next 50 days, they're going to eradicate the old name physically and digitally. So that's going to be pretty cool. Last story of the day. This is something that kind of hits close to home to me because I'm a musician as well. Indie label BRGR Records shuts down amid sexual assault allegations. Wah, wah, wah. Yeah, dude. So BRGR Records, for those of you who don't know, is a California rock label that was once influential in DIY circles for developing talent such like Cherry Glazer and Dreamers, and there's a bunch of like indie bands. They became so distinct that like there was a style of a way to dress that was known as like Burger Kids, where like you have like a really, really rolled up beanie with like, I don't know, oversized clothing and shit, and like you have like 90s styled hair, and I don't know, man. I didn't dress like this, okay? I used to listen to some of this type of music, still have, here and there, but this isn't like my wave particularly. But I have a lot of friends that are in line with this. But what's happened is a ton of bands that were signed to this label were outed for sexual assault, grooming, and rape allegations. Oh, and like just sexual harassment too. So let's see. What actually is happening here? So on July 18th, there was a Instagram account called Lord_by_BRGR_records. On that account, people started posting stories of their experiences interacting with members of these bands from BRGR Records, such as Swimmers, the Buttertones, the Growlers, Love Cop, Cosmonauts, the Frights, the Aqua Dolls, the Black Lips, Part-Time, Gap Dream, Audacity, Dead Ghosts, the Abigails, Magic Jake, and others. There are a ton of stories out here, but the most notable one is a story of Lydia Knight of the Regrets, in which she addressed Joey Armstrong, who's the drummer of the band Swimmers, and who is also the son of leader Billy Joel Armstrong of Green Day, in which she alleged Armstrong of pressuring her into a sexual relationship while the Regrets toured with Swimmers when she was only 16 and he was 22. And then she criticized the band for making a statement in support of the women coming forward against BRGR Records, but that they're like hypocrites because, Armstrong abused her. That's the most notable one, but there's a ton, like dozens of other statements on this, on this Instagram page. So if you're interested in reading more about what's really going on individually with all of these different accounts, you can go to that one account. But in response, BRGR Records made a statement on July 20th promising major structural change after the allegations were made public. Co-founder Lee Ricard stepped down as label president, and co-founder Sean Ballham, whatever, I don't care, also announced plans to eventually step down, and the label announced that Jessa Zapor Gray is now the interim president of the label. They also said that they would change their name from BRGR RECS to basically they're pivoting and are starting a women only label called BRGR. BRGR doesn't roll off the tongue, but that's the name. They apologized, saying that we are also deeply sorry for the role BRGR has played in perpetuating a culture of toxic masculinity, and that they're offering funding for trauma counseling, consulting with trauma professionals, and they are working towards building safe spaces for women and people under 18 at shows. I'm disappointed, man. Look, like there's been nothing but these sexual assault allegations that are coming out right now in the music industry and music community. And I don't know any of these people. I honestly I don't think I've seen any of these bands live. The closest act that came under fire recently it's called Destroy Boys. They're from Sacramento. I've seen them play one time, but I never interacted with anybody in this community. I never interacted like one-on-one. I never had a relationship with anyone in this community at all. But just from the outside looking in and seeing other, how much, how many stories have come forward, not just within this community, this BRGR community, but also like the Warped Tour community. And like I did a story a couple weeks ago on the Super Smash Brothers community. At the end of the day, man, at the end of the day, if you are in a band and you're a dude, is that at that point you are in a position of authority. You have fans, you have admiration, people admire you. And when you take that admiration and use it to hurt people, to take advantage of people in a physical way and in a mental way, that makes you a piece of shit. So don't do that. Don't do that. This behavior is not acceptable. It's not. And it's up to you. You have the responsibility to be morally in the right. You do. Because you're the one with the platform. I don't understand how it's so hard to just get that through people's heads. People get so caught up with getting a little bit of clout and then thinking they can do anything the fuck they want. You can't. You can't. You can't. Just be chill. Be chill. That's all I'm asking for. It's not that hard. Jesus. And that leads me into the theme of the week. The theme of this week is distraction. Distraction in times like this where there is a lot of negativity in the media, a lot of negativity in personal matters, I can imagine, for most people. There's a lot of negativity mentally, and we need distractions. Distractions are important. But like with many themes that I have talked about, there's a slippery slope when it comes to distractions. Too much of a distraction, too much distracting is a bad thing. You see, because if you distract yourself too often from your issues, how are you ever going to grow and move on from them and get better? And it is important to allow yourself to get better. It is important to allow yourself to grow. Distractions are great, but you have to be disciplined with your distractions. With distracting yourself comes the task of also disciplining yourself, not allowing yourself to get carried away with those distractions, so that way you can still be productive and you can have balance within your life. And that's the key to a lot of these themes that I talk about, is balance. And eventually I'll talk about balance specifically. But I have found myself playing a lot of NBA 2K20 recently because it was free on PlayStation Network. And, I'm a big sports video game fan. It's my thing. I love it. It's easy to turn your brain off, play the game. You know the rules. Boom. Easy. Listen to music, listen to a podcast, also play that. Easy stuff. You could talk on the phone. There's a lot of things you could do while you're playing a sports video game. At least I can. But I found myself doing too much of that recently. I've neglected my music and to the podcast to a degree. It doesn't seem like it because I'm still putting out content, promos and everything, but just the work ethic, I put things off to the last second, try to cut corners so I have more time to play the game, because the game is the distraction and I want to be distracted, but it's not good. I have to force myself to do these things and have the discipline. And I implore you to do the same. If you find yourself, doing something too often that makes you feel good, and it's getting in the way of being productive and holding up your responsibilities, I implore you to just kindly look in the mirror and realize that there's a time and place for this distraction. I'm going to put it on a shelf, do what I need to do, and come back to it. It's okay to do that. It's actually very healthy to do that. And I know right now we all have to be self-disciplined, and that's why I'm telling you to do it. Because when you hear somebody say, hey, bro, do this, it's a lot easier to do that thing than to tell yourself that. Because you also have that other voice that battles your righteous voice. And it's like, hey, man, you don't have to fucking get up. Don't get up. Why are you going to put the controller down? Who cares? Who cares? Do what you want, man. Have fun. Well, I'm telling you, have fun, but get your work done too. And with that, I'm going to bid you an adieu. Please follow us on Instagram at The Closers Podcast, on Facebook at Closers Podcast, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are The Closers Podcast. This was a very interesting episode, and I hope you enjoyed it a lot. I will be back on Wednesday for another episode of The Closers Podcast. Who is going to be our guest? I don't know. You're going to have to find out. So please follow us on social media to figure that out. Okay? All right. Love you guys.